It's time to check in with Microsoft because their earnings call has happened. And this is bloody important for us in gaming because Microsoft's plan is one of the most impactful ones in gaming. As a decent example, that one thing we've learned is, sure, the next few Call of Duties are definitely going to be on PS5.
The next few, yes.
The next few. We do not know past that. That tells you all you need to know that what Microsoft is doing is absolutely massive.
Yep.
And obviously, everything Bethesda does, past the point, is Xbox, not PlayStation. So we need to see if this strategy is actually working. And I think we do have some early results of this strategy.
Yeah, I mean, to put a bit of a sort of a doomer spin on it, is their plan to literally control all of gaming actually going to work?
Yeah, well, here's the deal. Microsoft Corp had a really good year. I mean, their revenue, 51.7 billion, increased 20%.
They nearly paid for Activision Blizzard.
Well, in revenue.
Well, yeah, in revenue. Yeah.
The operating income, 22.2 billion. That increased 24%. I mean, that's also awesome. Net income, 18.8 billion, increased by 21%. Awesome. Diluted earnings per share was $2.48. That's a 22% increase. That's really, really good shit, everyone. That's really good. Satya, obviously, is the overall CEO. He's a happy boy. He's saying, we are innovating and investing across diverse and growing markets with common underlying technology stack and an operating model that reinforces a common strategy, culture, and sense of purpose. Which might seem like a bunch of wank to most of the people on planet Earth, but look at this. It's actually producing the results, and now this is a strategy that is becoming more and more powerful within the gaming space. Now, one of the areas they're very happy about is cloud. Of course, I mean, Microsoft Azure is pretty massive business, and the EVP and CFO Amy Hood said basically it's all great. Increased revenue to 22.1 billion, up 32% over a year. Also mentioned that their operating expenses increased 17%, primarily driven by investments in gaming. So the increase in overall Microsoft, their cost of doing their business, is primarily driven by gaming. So this is, of course, primarily the ZeniMax portion of things. Any stuff for ActiBliz would, of course, be this year. And will probably lead to this number being a lot larger.
I would imagine so, yes.
So let's talk about video games. Now, one of the saddest things here is that this does show us how the classic thing of an ActiBliz earnings call will be a thing of the past because we do not get as much info. It's not as granular as we would want, but it is important. So their more personal computing division, which includes Windows OEM revenues, search and news advertising, Surface product lines, and Xbox, that saw revenues grow 15% to 17.5 billion. This is primarily driven by Windows, by search, and by news advertising. Wild.
Interesting.
There you go. Turns out when we say bing, bing, wahoo, it really is bing, bing, wahoo for Team Microsoft. The gaming revenues, though, well, they've increased by a more modest 8%.
Which, to be honest, given their strategy, that's pretty impressive.
So the Xbox content and services revenue grew 10% over the same period last year. Now, obviously, with a growth curve like this, you are going to see a taper off.
Yeah, of course.
There's only so many people who are going to be taking your, £1 introductory Game Pass Ultimate offer. Now, this is significant because the prior two quarters posted a 2% growth and 4% decline, respectively.
All up.
So Microsoft are basically attributing this to an increase in the first-party sales and Game Pass. Now, we learned from, of course, the ActiBliz press release that there are 25 million Game Pass members, which is, it's a lot of members. It's quite funny, though, when you think about that's Game Pass. And think about how much money they've had to invest there. And then I just sometimes think about World of Warcraft getting its 12.1 million at its peak, and you're just like, holy shit. Blizzard got like half of Game Pass on one fucking game. Wow. Just goes to show how much of a cash cow that game, had been.
I mean, it was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. So this stuff, though, is really helped by those big releases like Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah, which both did very well, it seems.
Yeah, and this stuff doing great partially is offset by a little bit of a dip in the third-party offerings. But maybe the most substantial thing is, of course, that this makes zero mention of the ActiBliz deal, which obviously is not something within this fiscal year.
Yeah, of course.
Now, increases in hardware and software. So moving on then, the Xbox Series X and S. We definitely want to know how those are going. I mean, even the idea that eventually World of Warcraft could be in a Series S.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Well, they brought in more money for Microsoft during the last reporting quarter than during the launch window. Of course, I think some of that's almost definitely down to maybe a bit of a COVID pinch, but also, of course, the supply issues. Now, their hardware revenues, those are up 4% year over year, fueled by next-gen console demand. So, not massive. But, again, I think a lot of this is supply constrained, not demand constrained, which is a kind of loopy situation. And, in fact, both parties being supply constrained is probably better for... It's actually better for Microsoft than it is for Sony, because every purchase decision or ability to purchase one of these consoles that is shifted means that it shifted more into where Microsoft's acquisitions and therefore any exclusivity via those acquisitions, when those will come online.
Yeah.
So, let's just say, because this is a supply constraint, just that sales curve just keeps on going and going and going and going, and maybe doesn't have as much of a taper off or something like that. That's actually good for Microsoft. Because obviously they have the weak start, whereas Sony had the strong start, where it seems like Microsoft are well poised for a really chunky follow through.
Yep.
I mean, Halo and Forza, they've already had a pretty damn good follow through.
Yeah, especially when every bit of news just that comes out seems to make the especially like a Series S, if you're not massively willing to expend heavily into gaming, it's just a better and better decision.
Yeah.
And evidently, I mean, obviously the whole Game Pass stuff's clearly working, because Halo, obviously it was also free to play on Steam with Infinite, so you didn't need Game Pass to play Halo, so there's something there, but it has a 20 million players. So 20 million players, and Forza Horizon 5 is at 18.
Yeah.
That's like, it's hard to forget just how many players that actually is. Obviously it includes people who only play for a little bit here and there, but it's completely and utterly insane.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers are massive, even compared to Sony blockbuster numbers.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a fairly good point of comparison, because it was Ghost of Tsushima hit 10 million, wasn't it? And that has it's never been available for free yet.
No,
it's still just for sale, which is still pretty big. But at the same time, if you're going to make the play for engagement, you're going to make the play for getting people onto your platform, then 20 million is better than 10 million. 20 million getting hooked on your platform is better than what, I guess if you're, let's say $60 for Ghost of Tsushima, because PS4 stuff, $600 million. That's
obviously
that's a lot
nice
of
to have. But.
Yeah, it's a lot of revenue, but that's revenue now as opposed to revenue later.
Yeah, and revenue now is more important to Sony than it is, to Microsoft.
Yep.
Especially when Microsoft are posting, growth numbers like these.
Yeah, as we've proven.
It's the kind of funny thing with Microsoft, like it's weird. I mean, they're obviously not really what people would call a growth stock, like, I don't know, a Tesla or a Palantir.
Yeah.
But because they're like this sort of like pretty large established company with like a really solid set of enterprise customers that probably aren't going to wander away. But it's like, damn, they're really impressive numbers. So, that means that Microsoft, they can sacrifice the money to get that growth. And in fact, their investors are probably, happier for that. Whereas I think with Sony as well, Sony's got the issue of, PlayStation is not just one business segment in an overall extremely healthy company. Mm-hmm. You kind of constantly hear that really PlayStation's like one of their really good performers, and, aspects of the rest of Sony can struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. I think all this just shows us, this is old school Microsoft first party for Halo, old school Microsoft first party for Forza Horizon 5. Yep. What's going to happen with Starfield? Because that comes out
November this year. Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't think Starfield's going to be as large as a Fallout game or an Elder Scrolls game. I love sci-fi, of course, but I just don't think it will be. But it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, it doesn't have that brand recognition, but it has the Bethesda recognition.
Yeah. So what's going to happen when these Bethesda games start impacting this? When Doom starts to impact this, like a new Doom game?
Yeah.
That's the thing. What we're seeing in these numbers is them doing well based on the back of what they had before they went on as much of an acquisition spree.
Yeah, I think that's a fun thing to think about, is that this is them on step one. This isn't them on step two, where, hey, we've got Bethesda, and their best-selling game was Skyrim, which sold over 30 million copies. Obviously, a lot of that will be discounted. That's over multiple re-releases, but that's still 30 million sales. That's still
and
insane.
even then, what happens when they, Call of Duty comes out? Because here was Microsoft's previous relationship with Call of Duty. They make 30% on all of the sales in their store.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. What is it now? Well, they get everything that happens on PC.
Yeah.
Everything that happens on console. And 30% of everything that happens on Sony, which has a larger install base than they do.
Yep.
So even just for their revenue growth, holy shit.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I just took a quick look to see, best-selling games, where does Skyrim rank? So I thought 30 million's a lot. It must be pretty up there. It's basically one of the highest-selling games that isn't a Nintendo game, generally speaking, at rank 19. But you know what shares rank 19? Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Microsoft also own Call of Duty, as you just explained. But there's one more game there that they now also own. Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls.
Oh, yeah.
That's obviously that's Diablo 3 and Reaper of Souls, so I'm not sure how that's calculated, but that's in here at 30 million. They also own that, which means that out of those acquisitions, the only... Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I just scrolled up. Obviously, Minecraft's up there too. They own that as well.
Small game, yeah.
So it feels like they're scrolling down and just going, what can we buy here? What can we buy? Probably not Rockstar, because Take-Two won't sell. PUBG, Nintendo, we're not buying them. That's weird. Rockstar can't buy them. Bethesda, Infinity Ward, Blizzard, fuck it, we'll have them all.
It's like they've gobbled up everything they can as you go down the list.
It is basically that.
The only things that haven't been gobbled are the things where it's like, well, they probably couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's outside of the occasional little indie that's clearly an explosive one-off, like Human Fall Flat in 19 with 30 mil as well, which is interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, right.
Holy shit.
Yeah, right. But yeah, you scroll down and it is literally just, you go down, Rockstar, Game Freak, Nintendo AD, Rockstar, Game Freak, Nintendo AD, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer. And that's it until you get down to like 40. And it's just their box sales, obviously, but those are interested players. And they have all of them now.
So they're already doing well in their own Steam, and I think, as we've explained here, that's probably going to accelerate. And of course, that's what it would take for them to decide to spend nearly $70 billion.
Damn straight.
So with that said, if you would like to spend significantly less than $70 billion on us in the future, or even right now, you could buy some of our sweet-ass loot on Patreon, or you could wishlist The Pale Beyond, which is the video game that our studio is developing. Yeah. Links are all down below. With that said, if you want to watch another video, you can check out whatever the box, wherever the box is, has. It's great. Yep. Great video. I know what it is, 100%. Yeah. And with that...
Not decided by the algorithm at all.
No. And with that, have a wonderful day, everyone. I hope you found this interesting, and we'll see you next time.